Why, hello everybody. Welcome back to Coffee Connections. I'm your host, Seth Weiner, and I am your Rocktioneer. Again, I always say welcome back, and then I say welcome back, but welcome back. It's September, and today I've got a wonderful guest. I'm excited to share this. We're now into the part of the show where pretty much all of our guests have been introduced to us or recommended by other guests. So today on the show, we have Elana Frank, with the Jewish Fertility Foundation. Now, Elana has 20 years of experience working in the nonprofits in America and also in Israel. And she was working in fundraising, marketing, community outreach, volunteer recruitment, board development, and program development. One could say she knows how to do development. Elana birthed the Jewish Fertility Foundation. It took her 10 years and countless rounds of IUI and IVF, which she'll explain, cycles and embryo donation to make 3 babies. That's right, she has 3 babies. They're not babies now, one is, but we'll get to that as well. She was a resident of Israel at the time of her first 2 children. Their socialized medicine afforded her the opportunity to inexpensively reach a solution. Now, when she returned to the U.S., she realized that others weren't as lucky as her. And in terms of treatment success, community support, and financial aid, she learned for others it takes years, miscarriages, unbearable debt, oceans of tears, and just heartache before finally being able to give birth. So without going on and on and on, I think it's best to have her tell you about the mission. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Elana Frank.
Hello, hello. How are you today?
I am doing well. Now, Elana, we always start Coffee Connections by talking about coffee. Do you happen to have a mug?
Of course I do. This is my mug.
That looks like you got that in Jerusalem at I'm going to go, what's the word? It's, oh wait, I'm messing up here. Oh, geez. Go tell us your story. Tell us your story about that mug.
Sure. I got this at a beautiful store called Target. It is right around the corner from our houses. Not the same house, but we do live around the corner from one another. And it is beautiful blue Jerusalem stone.
Here, I thought you were going to say that you got this in the shtuk.
Shuk.
Did I say it wrong?
Shuk.
Well, with the Fertility Foundation, rather, I'm thinking of storks. So it all kind of,
I hear you. Well,
so coffee. Are you a coffee drinker?
I am a coffee drinker. This is my 3rd cup for today.
Oh, okay.
I do enjoy my coffee with a little soy cream inside.
Okay. So that was one of my questions. And then what about dark roast, light roast?
I used to be a dark roast until I found medium roast just recently. Okay. Yes.
French press or drip?
Oh, I wish I was that fancy. But again, I have 3 children who you'll hear about, so I am not that fancy right now.
Okay. All right. Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts?
Yes, I'm a Starbucks. Not
but you
Starbucks
live in walking distance.
I know, but not Starbucks to buy. Like, I don't enjoy their beans at my house. I enjoy like a Americano at the store. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely,
Like a
absolutely.
cup
I
of it
agree.
versus making it myself. And Dunkin', I don't like Dunkin' Donuts coffee. I really don't enjoy the
You
taste.
live right behind it, probably because you get the smell of it all day long.
Sure. Um, correct.
All right. Well, Alana, can you please share about the Jewish Fertility Foundation, your story behind it, and what your mission is?
Surely. So, like many people in our space, infertility is very personal to me. I got married about 12 years ago, and I thought you get married and you have babies, and it did not go exactly as planned. My husband and I had just moved to Israel right after we got married, and we had been trying. I'm the type of person that when I try to do something, I usually get it right. If not, I work a little harder. And we were working really, really hard, and it wasn't working. And we were new immigrants to Israel, and we were trying to navigate the medical system. It was hard. My friends back in America were getting pregnant, and things became a little harder. I was going to the basement of this doctor's house trying to figure out what the problem was because I didn't know how to find a proper doctor in Israel. And ultimately, he was doing really sketchy things to me. But after a year and a half or so, I was able to find a really great doctor within the medical system, and I was able to understand that I was struggling with infertility. Obviously, I knew this before, but we were able to do in vitro fertilization, IVF, and I was able to have 2 children. So in Israel, because of socialized medicine, kind of like Canada or England, you pay taxes, higher taxes, and medical treatments are free. So my first 2 children were free, but it was still really hard emotionally. It was hard with my husband. There were many times when, we just didn't know how to support each other or help each other. And I was not talking about what I was going through with anybody back in Atlanta, where I'm originally from, or back in America with my friends. And when I finally moved back to America after being in Israel for 5 years, I came back with 2 little kids under the age of 2. And that's when I finally started talking about what I went through. And I quickly understood that I was actually not alone, that many people were going through infertility. And in America, my friends or the people I was meeting now back home, they were paying ridiculous amounts of money trying to have their families. And like you said, my background is in fundraising and working in nonprofits. So I was like, okay, well, we need to raise money to help people have their babies. And I thought that was going to solve all the problems. So in 2015, I was talking to everybody who would listen to me. And we started an organization in Atlanta called Jewish Fertility Foundation. And I quickly understood that, in fact, money is not the only problem solver of this infertility crisis. Today, we offer 3 main functions of our services. The first is good job. The first is financial assistance. So we offer grants. We offer grants that are paid directly to the fertility clinics of $1,000 to $15,000. We also offer interest-free loans in partnership with the Jewish Interest-Free Loan Association of Atlanta of up to $7,500. And we offer a 20% discounted rate to anybody from the fertility clinics who is receiving a grant of ours. So that is a lot of money, specifically for the community awardees of the grants that we are offering. The second piece we've learned is just as important. So as I mentioned, it was a real struggle with my husband. It was a real struggle figuring out how to make sure my mental health was taken care of. And that is the second piece of services that we provide the individuals we're working with. So we offer free support groups, community-based support groups. Right now, the communities that we're serving are Atlanta, Georgia, as well as Cincinnati, Ohio. And I'll tell you a little bit more about our expansion efforts in a little bit. But so we offer these community-based support groups. Of course, now everything is virtual because of COVID, but they're free. They're open to anybody, regardless of religious background. And we also offer a fertility buddies program. So that's basically matching a veteran up, like myself. I'm on the other side. I have children now, but I can support somebody who is currently experiencing infertility. I don't have to be their friend. I don't have to be their therapist, but I'm that person that gets it, who goes along with the journey with them. And then the third piece and the last piece of what we offer are educational trainings. So we offer trainings to fertility clinics about special needs of Jewish clients who are going through fertility treatments. Sometimes in the Orthodox community, sperm collection even might look a little bit different than in the mainstream Jewish community or other cultures. And then we also offer trainings around pathways to parenthood. There are many different ways that you can become a parent, and we kind of teach you how that might look. And then also, you'd be surprised by how many intended grandparents give me a call saying, how can I help my daughter or son going through infertility? I got one call one time asking, should my daughter quit her job and focus on fertility treatments full time? So I was like, I'm not a therapist, but that's probably a bad idea. So we do a training called Loving Someone with Infertility, and that helps people kind of figure out, tips to say, what not to say to somebody who's going through the experience. So I did say I have 3 children. And one thing I do like to share is that my third child was much harder to conceive than the first 2. I mean, it took about 5 years. When I moved back from America from Israel, I was like going back and forth, leaving my babies at home. I knew my family wasn't over. And through many failed adoption efforts or attempts, that wasn't our route for getting our third child. But through the generosity of a family, we were actually able to receive a donated embryo. So that's a totally unique way. Many people don't know about growing your family. I was able to carry my child, but he's not biologically related to us. And it's a beautiful option that I'm happy to speak about more one-on-one if anybody is interested. So that's kind of who we are, our mission, and where we are today.
That's amazing. And
well, thank you.
You serve Jewish people, but is it primarily in Atlanta, or is this national?
So we are a community-based organization. We are not interested in being everything to everyone. That was never our goal. There's plenty of infertility, to go around, but we very much focus on bringing, literally building community. So right now, as I mentioned, we're in 2 cities. We have a goal of being in 15 cities in the next 5 years. So it's a weird time to be expanding, perhaps. During COVID, but the need is there. Our, demand has increased tremendously during this COVID period. And people are not stopping to have babies.
People are definitely having babies, but what about those who are in the same situation as those having babies that want babies? So yeah, that's great. Are there other Jewish fertility foundations or organizations, I should say organizations, but out there that you partner with, or is this primarily the only Jewish one?
So there's an organization called Bonei Olam. It's focused much more in the ultra-Orthodox community. They're doing great work. It's just a little bit of a different target audience. There is another organization called Hasidah, which also gives out grants. And I definitely refer clients to them who are outside of Atlanta and Cincinnati.
Okay. And then let's look at some of these stats here. If I'll pull these up here.
Sure.
This is your track record you sent me, which is very fascinating. You want to go just line by line on this?
Yeah, sure. So we've given out close to 450, I think it's $6,000 in grants, loans, and clinic discounts. We've given out for 53 fertility grants, 44 babies. People like to know about the number of babies we've created. And I used to have to remind people, and I still try to, it's not only about the cute baby at the end, we hope that you are able to have a child, I guess when you graduate from our programs, but it's really also about supporting you through the journey. We have about 16 babies on the way. The numbers are always fluctuating in a good way. We do so many educational events and trainings. We have more than 120 fertility buddies that have gone through our programs, and we continuously support individuals through support groups all the time. Again, they're free. They're open up to anybody, regardless of your background.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I mean, that's pretty big stats considering how new the organization, the foundation really is. I mean, that's remarkable. When you started, where did you get the initial seed money to be able to build your nonprofit and be able to right off the bat
Sure.
help people?
So I will say that we've found luck with the Marcus Foundation, and they understood that we're a scrappy organization even to this day. Like, our programs honestly do not cost a lot of money. The main expenses are staffing and fertility grants. And they believed in me as their CEO, and they really were able to back us with staffing needs, in the beginning. And that's why we've been able to expand at the rate that we have. We have several other amazing funders, but, I always say, like, we know who our donors are, because if I have to explain to you the heartache of not being able to have a child, or, what infertility is, like, you're not our donor. Our donors reach out to us. We've been very, very lucky and successful in the fundraising space. And honestly, like, if I have to explain to you, why this is an important issue, like, it's okay. You can pass and you can donate to something else.
Now, would you say that most of your donors are folks that have experienced this sort of trauma, or not trauma, but it's kind of trauma at times, but this challenge?
I think that our donors either have identified themselves, either they're parents who have kids and they can't imagine not having their own children, or they're like, intended grandparents or grandparents of, or like parents of their children who have gone through this. So there definitely is like an emotional connection. What we also, interestingly enough, learn is that a lot of our donors are not philanthropic donors in the Jewish community. And this is like their first taste of donating to the Jewish community. So they're not necessarily like going to naturally donate to like a Jewish federation or something like that. But this is a cause that's near and dear to their hearts.
Well, that's interesting. Now, what about fundraising? Let's not talk COVID fundraising, just in general.
Sure.
Are you just relying on donations, or are you doing active fundraising?
So both. So we definitely, especially as we expand, we are looking to more like national foundations, but there is an element for each city that we're in that we hope and anticipate that our community will back us. So in Atlanta, for instance, we try to have an every other year gala. So it was canceled this year, but we've been able to work around our ask-a-thon. So we have a yearly ask-a-thon. And this year in Atlanta, we had a $50,000 match. And then in Cincinnati, we had a $10,000 match. And this is like the traditional phone-a-thon. So we were really, really successful. In Atlanta, we were able to raise 2 weeks ago $150,000. In Cincinnati, this past week, we were able to raise about $24,000. So like, I know you said not COVID related, but we're that weird organization that we're in a very healthy financial place. Not that we rely on our foundations and funders to make our organization go around, but like our programs have increased, our fundraising has been successful. So like, we're that weird organization that right today we're doing okay, and we're able to provide our services.
You could see you're doing okay. Just look at all the babies.
This is my baby. The one in the blue is my baby.
Ah, all right.
Isn't he cute? I like him.
Adorable. The best one. Okay.
Yeah. No, we like them all.
So fundraising though, you say this and I'm thinking like, oh, you should do like when COVID's done, you should do the wine stroll, but a little, yeah. They're not always going to be funny, but they'll be punny.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So speaking of wine though, haven't you done some fundraisers that are wine related? Because, and I'm going to preface this, by the way, I know you did.
Oh, right. Yes.
Because I met with someone who that afternoon that I met was like, oh, you got to, talking about fundraising stuff, mentions you, in particular you and your organization. And then 2 days later, I'm doing the coffee connection. And then you were like recommended by the guest.
Oh, yes.
So can you want to talk a little bit about that fundraiser?
So this one was not a fundraiser. This one was an event for couples experiencing infertility. And so I don't know, this is a whole nother issue, but sometimes wine makes talking about what you're going through a little bit easier. And so we did this amazing wine tasting. And we were able to taste kosher wines from around the world. And what was interesting about this was that normally the men, like, we're not an organization just for women. Infertility affects men almost as equally as it does women, but the men don't often seek as much emotional support as women do. But when it comes to alcohol and when it comes to like virtual, the men were all about this event. So it was a really nice opportunity not to sit around and talk about the fact that I can't have a baby, but to come together around a joint experience and really get to know one another and just feel less alone. But we are actually we enjoyed it so much that we're having a high donor appreciation event with Samara, who you're speaking about, to do another wine tasting and like a cheese event, because we really do enjoy wine at Jewish Fertility Foundation.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to just drop that, her website right here.
She's awesome. I don't want I almost don't want to share her. She's that awesome, because if you start using it, doing these wine tastings, like, we won't be unique. I'm just kidding. She's so amazing. The wines are delicious. And especially as an organization and a person who only drinks kosher wine, to find good tasting wine is very important in my life. So I appreciate everything that Samara offers.
No, she does a great job of, she's a sommelier and does, picks these organic wines and whatnot, but it's for fundraising right now. That's a really neat way, but I'm going to pause on fundraising, and I want to go back to what you were just talking about men and not always getting the emotional support they need. That is a society thing that we're dealing with. And I mean, I'm a man, and I've done therapy and I've done men's groups, and like, so I come from a little bit of a different place than most men, but men don't share. Men don't get the help they need with this situation. And it's not just the woman who's going through it in this situation. It's also the man. I mean, there's a sense of pride if it's their fault that their body's not able to do it. There's the confusion. There's the relationship. I mean, I imagine there's also the whole side of like helping relationships stay strong through such a thing, because you don't want to point fingers because you're really one in a relationship.
Right. Right.
But I'm just curious, like, has your organization been able to really break, you mentioned the wine piece, but are you seeing a lot more success in being able to help, get through to some of these men?
Are we like the leader in this? I don't know. I mean, so we've given out, like you saw, 53 grants. And in many of those cases, they're part of a relationship, a heterosexual relationship. And so there is a man and a woman. And we used to require that the men also took on a fertility buddy. And we absolutely have men volunteers in our organization who are much more in touch with their emotional side. But I started learning like midway into offering the grants that like it was such, like, if the men, forcing the men to receive the support was just adding to their stress. Right. So I do not force them to do this anymore. Some of them voluntarily do want the support, and it looks a little different. But no, I haven't. I'm trying to meet the men where they're at. So if they come to me and say, like, we want a Scotch tasting and we don't need to talk about our feelings, but we're going to talk about how to best support our partner through it, or our wife through the process, like, I'm cool with that. It's really whatever you need. And it looks very different. We offer, most of our support groups are for women, intended for women. But like a few couples said, you know what, like, we really would like our husbands there. They want to be there. Can we do a couple support? Okay. Like, whatever it is that you need, we can offer. And we have the means to offer and the ability to be able to make it happen.
Now,
so
is it strictly heterosexual couples, or are you working with gay couples or even single moms?
Yeah, so we work with anybody who is requesting our services. We've seen a huge influx in Atlanta around single moms by choice. We're newer to Cincinnati, so we're still, I guess, learning about the needs of the community, but definitely have created a really, really special single moms by choice community in Atlanta. And shout out to Atlanta Jewish Federation for giving us a grant just recently, specifically for single moms by choice and interfaith couples. So we're definitely like seeing a huge influx of both of those areas.
Now, speaking of interfaith couples,
Yeah.
we have a mutual friend. I did Honeymoon Israel several years ago. I'm actually going to
Yeah.
be doing Divorce Israel next year. No, I'm kidding. But,
You're funny.
But Honeymoon Israel, Malka was our person, our
Oh,
facilitator on
yeah.
that one.
Ah,
And you're going to be talking with her in a couple weeks, aren't you?
yeah. Yeah.
Or in a couple days, I think.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I
it's
go
coming
all
up.
over the place. Yeah, Malka, I had a special relationship with prior to her baby. So yeah, she's
That's
a
great.
good one. Yeah.
Yeah, she is. So back to fundraising. Thanks for taking
Yeah.
that little turn with me.
Surely.
So what are you doing anything different? You mentioned the gala, and you can't do that.
Yes.
Have you considered the virtual gala, or did you just decide, well, let's just wait until after COVID? Are you looking at other fundraising things? What questions do you have about fundraising when it comes to the current times? What are you seeing working? What are you not like? What do you got in any of that mix?
So I guess the biggest question we have right now is expansion. Like we're in the space where we're like dating a bunch of cities to see where we're going next. We're hoping to expand to 2 more cities in the next year. And because of COVID, like where does that leave us? Where are national funders? Where are local cities going to be raising the money in order for us to go? So like that's the question for us. Right now, we're planning to have an in-person May event gala. I don't know if it's going to be like we thought we were supposed to have it in October, and then so I don't know.
Now, would you take something like that and go virtual and do the virtual gala, or are you just not into that?
I don't know. Like, are people zoomed out? I don't know.
Well, the answer to that is yes, people are zoomed out, but don't make it a Zoom. Make it something entertaining and make it something beneficial and unique and short and sweet and engaging.
We're all about short, sweet, and to the point. I don't know yet. We're open to ideas.
Yeah, well, we'll sidebar on that another time, though. But I will say this, though. Yes. When it comes to an organization, like you said, your Cincinnati is a new market for you. So now you have to break into this new market. And it'd be one thing to say, you get with the right community members and then they invite the right people and then you get the right people in the right room. Now to do that virtually, that's not as simple. And there's ways around that. And I'm seeing other organizations, just to share, where they're not thinking on the big, like, let's just get everyone in one place. They're thinking smaller, like you're doing with the wine tasting, scotch tasting, where you can get smaller groups. And the future, and to answer your question about May, I call it the maybe, is really, are we going to see it? You know what the answer is? It's even with a cure, a vaccine, it's going to take a while before we can get a bunch of people back into space. So what the fundraising community, I've been spending a lot of time with nonprofit organizations, but mainly benefit auctioneers and just conferences, these virtual conferences, and hybrid is the word. Be it a hybrid event where you have a 500 capacity room with 75 people and the rest streaming, or smaller groups of people. And you might have a pod of folks and you'll have the 10 people at your house and then someone else will have 10 people at their home. So we're going to enter a whole new space with that. And that's something to be.
It's true. I mean, I can't imagine even in May, we're going to have a 500 person event like we did a year and a half ago, even if we have boxed up dinner or something. I can't imagine that because it's going to look different. People are good. I don't know. You're right.
Well, you have something else coming up pretty soon. I'm going to pop it up here.
Oh yeah.
Talk about the challah baking with Beth.
So sure. So this will be a really exciting event. It's free and open to everyone. Again, we try to help our community just take a moment of pause in any capacity that they can have, bring them joy, not talk about, infertility and what they're going through. And this opportunity is just honestly open to anybody, infertile or not. It's free and it's an opportunity to get ready for Rosh Hashanah with some delicious challah and inspirational words.
All right. Well, speaking of challah, who should we challah at to be our next guest?
Right.
We close every episode with guest getting to pick our next guest.
So I was actually just accepted into this fellowship with the Jewish Women's Fund of Atlanta, with really incredible, amazing women that I'm honored to learn with and learn from. I don't know if anybody else is from a Jewish organization yet, but it's like lawyers and physicians and astrophysicist. I made that last one up. But anyway, it's a great organization. They're providing funding for many, many different types of powerful women in Israel and America who are in need and doing amazing work. So Rachel Wasserman is my partner in crime at Jewish Women's Fund of Atlanta.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Well, after this, if you don't mind shooting that intro, I would love to have
Surely.
you here. It's kind of interesting. This is not a Jewish podcast or whatnot, but this is kind of, things have a way of being themselves. So,
Sure.
but this Thursday, we're going to step away from the Jewish organizations for a minute, and we're actually going to go back into a deep Atlanta arts, and it's going to be Illuminate Atlanta. Yes, Illuminate Atlanta is joining us here Thursday. Coming up after that, we've got the Center for Civic Innovation. We've got the Georgia Center for Child Advocacy. We've got the Atlanta Community Food Bank and the Atlanta Jewish Music Festival, all on deck coming up. Thank you so much, everyone. Please visit jewishfertilityfoundation.org. You can go to Coffee Connections website, which is at yourrockchenier.com, and all of our episodes, including this one, will be there. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do on YouTube. And by the way, big thank you. The other day, I wanted to update my YouTube, and I realized you need to have 100 subscribers. So I made a little post on Facebook, thanks to my buddy Jacob Diet, the musician, saying, you just post it. People do it. I go, no one's going to do it. No one likes my stuff when I do this stuff. I poop you not. We had over 130 people subscribe to the YouTube within 24 hours. So I want to thank my friends out there that did that, all our subscribers. That really means a lot. And again, thank you, Elana, for your time. And now that we know, like, we didn't know. She's like, where do you live? I go, I'm like, I live in Decatur, because in case people, I just say that.
Nobody knows.
She's like, I live in Toco Hills. I'm like, no, actually, I live in Toco Hills. She lives across the street from me, like literally across the street. So if I don't see you at Kosher Kroger or Kosher Publix, you'll see me running. You'll see me running on the street now to give me a little honk.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so
much for the work you're doing. It's good to know that you expanded and you're not just helping people with getting pregnant. The emotional, mental support, mental health is so key, and that's something as this show continues to grow, people will find more and more that's a subject that really matters a lot to me, mental health, and so you're really providing that service as well. So thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. Sweet start. They said there's going to be a cure by New Year, but they weren't talking about this New Year.
Good luck
to all. Bye, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you Thursday.
Thank you.
Cool.